From the post-millennial, comedian Alex Stein assaulted by Trans for Palestine activists at UT Austin.
Good grief.
And then we have this story from the New York Post. Guerrilla journalist says he was beaten by anti-Israel protesters at CUNY for waving American flag on campus. This story is about Ami Horowitz. Listen, you can criticize, by all means, if you're like Alex Stein goes in there and, you know, he's filming and people don't like it. Well, he should be allowed to do that. He should be allowed to say what he wants to say, and he should be allowed to ask questions without people attacking him. And they did. They physically attacked him. But if the argument is, well, leftists are violent and Alex should know that's a likely outcome, I'm sure Alex does. Ami Horowitz, on the other hand, is just this mild-mannered dude who walks around and asks regular old man on the street questions. Here's a video of them physically removing him. I guarantee you Ami Horowitz was not going in there antagonizing people. That is not what he does. His videos are all basically, he's on a street corner and he's like, hey, I'm here to ask some questions. He famously went to Berkeley and said, hey, I'd like to ask you a question. Do you think that voter ID is racist? That's all he does. For them to physically attack him and remove him shows exactly why these protests are crossing the line. And the problem is people on the, or I should say the response on the left, like, you can't blame all of us for what those guys did. And it's like, right, but the problem becomes when non-students are taking up students' space, barring students from entering, there becomes a civil dispute, people are being physically attacked, and now we're like, okay, what are we supposed to do about this? I will say outright, right here, for all of this, I am done defending the free speech rights of people who physically attack people for expressing free speech. That's it. When they bar people from coming in, when they physically attack people, and I personally experienced this covering Occupy Wall Street and its subsequent protests and derivatives, I'm just done. Send in the police. Go ahead. I don't care. Whatever justification Democrats and Republicans need, I don't care. I'm not going to defend them at all. They want to attack Alex Stein. They want to attack Ami Horowitz. Then that just proves exactly what I was saying the whole time.
And for nothing, right? For waving an American flag. I mean, fundamentally, these protesters are anti-American. They're Sharia supremacists. And that kind of ideology just has no place in our country whatsoever. And you're right, a lot of these kids are communists. They don't really care about the Israel-Gaza conflict at all. But the ones who do, I think it's frustrating to me as well. As an America First conservative, I hate seeing, foreign ethnic conflicts play out on American soil. We have no interest in what's happening in a lot of other countries, yet kids feel the need to, shut down universities to talk about it. And that's frustrating for me because we have a lot of problems that need solving here at home.
That I bet they couldn't explain or talk about, right? It is interesting to me that they're hyper fixated on something that's going on abroad when none of them are planning on entering the job market in Israel or Palestine. They are completely focused on staying in America and dictating what goes on somewhere else. Again, I'm not saying that they can't have passions or whatever else, although I do believe a lot of them don't really know what they're talking about. But some of them might. On the other hand, no one's moving. They're all staying here.
This is a symptom of the broader leftism that's going, that's controlling the zeitgeist. That's, I guess, is a pretty good way to say it. The idea that you have to be politically active with the correct political opinions that's the new in vogue. That's the new way that people show their class association.
Right. And I bet that's how most of, at least the, students in the Northeast got admitted to the school in the first place, right? Do you remember that story about the kid writing Black Lives Matter over and over again? Mm-hmm. I mean, these are all the things they signal to the admissions officers when they asked to be admitted to these universities. They said, we are left and we are for a progressive future, and so let us in. And so they have been rewarded for this behavior. Why wouldn't they escalate it?
Mm-hmm. It's true. So
yes, thank you.
They should allow them to make as much noise as they want. They should send pallets of bricks to all of these universities.
Well, I don't think this is happening at Hillsdale, which is one of the only privately funded universities in America.
Anyone that gets arrested, Kamala Harris should try and drum up some money to help them get out of jail.
Have you seen their demands?
No, not at all.
So they have demands of the universities, and I'm like, what does this have to do with Israel? Look, I'm sorry. You go down and talk to these people. Some of them will tell you things about why they're mad about Israel. But this is first layer NPC thinking. Mm-hmm. They don't actually know or care. This is why a lot of people got mad at me when we had one individual on, and I said, why do you care so much about Israel? And the response we got was, or that I got, Israel is going to escalate a conflict which results in war with Iran, and that could spark nuclear World War III. And I'm like, okay, Russia is literally at war with us right now, threatening to use nukes. So why is the focus on Israel? And look, you're allowed to focus on Israel. You're allowed to be critical of Israel. All of those things are fine. But it's seemingly, first, there are people with Israel derangement syndrome where they're just obsessed with this one place. And it's the weirdest thing to me. But these leftists don't actually care. In 2 months, they will be thinking about something totally different. It will be a completely different issue. So I'm just like, I'm not interested in whatever weird pseudo left communist BS they're trying to do. Their demands are of the universities, and the universities have nothing to do with Israel. So they're saying they demanded water and amnesty. Like, okay, wait, you want water? Go to the fountain, go get water. Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, no, the university's got to send us water. It's like, so you're occupying intents to create things like the People's Library, they call it, saying you want water. Where is this about Israel, and what does this do for Israel or Palestine or anything? Nothing. They want amnesty. They want the university to forgive them of any wrongdoing. And I'm just like, why are you protesting at CUNY, at NYU, at Columbia, these universities, and what are you even demanding of them? Nothing?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me other than they want to signal that they have the proper political opinions, even if they don't have any idea
Right.
where the opinion comes from, why they have it.
And I mean, could be compared to a hostage situation in which someone takes hostages without actually knowing what they're asking for, right? And so they become desperate. Like they could ask for anything right now because ultimately they don't really have a direct way to get any of the things they think they want or they're claiming to want. And again, none of them are planning to leave America, so they aren't actually as impacted by this as they are sort of pretending to be right now. Some of them might be. Some of them could have family, in different countries or whatever else, but the majority of the students are trying to say we're on this issue, but they don't actually know how to solve this issue.
Well, they don't.
And
There's nothing that they can do, right? They want the universities to divest or stop doing business with Israel. So fine, but that doesn't matter because I said this the other night. Israel is going to do what Israel thinks that Israel needs to do to get rid of Hamas. Right? That's going to happen. It doesn't matter how many people protest. It doesn't matter how many days you stay on the quad. It doesn't matter how many tents you've got. Israel is going to continue the operations in Gaza until Israel feels like they have gotten all of Hamas. And it doesn't matter how much you protest.
Right. And I mean, it is, to their credit, the college students in America, especially, again, this sort of was born out of the Northeast, Columbia, NYU, schools in New England or in the Mid-Atlantic, they are said to have inspired, student protesters in Paris and in Europe. So it is a movement that is spreading. And again, when you can see that you're going viral, perhaps you feel the need to continue it, even though, again, they don't know exactly what their objective is. Like, are they going to have every university in the world divest from Israel? And what does that actually mean? What are the details of doing that? I don't know that very many of them could actually articulate this.
Yeah, because it's just virtue signaling, like Phil was saying at the end of the day, like this is their social credit score. It's performative. They, gain status points within the culture these days if they're supporting things like this, if, they're out there, I'm an anti-colonialist, and they're throwing out the buzzwords and all of those things. And I think at the end of the day, these kids just want to be a part of something. They don't have any sense of community, so they're trying to create it and just throw, stuff at the wall and see what sticks.
Right. I think that's true.
Blanket, mindless, woke, whatever fits the narrative. But will this escalate in the summer months is the big question, I suppose. Yeah. And what does it turn into? Is it going to be... I ultimately do think it's bad for Israel, even though these people don't know anything about it. And that's the fear that they have with TikTok. It foments a bunch of people in the streets screaming about something they don't know or care about. But then the public image is Israel bad, poor Palestine, and they will weaponize that. And that's going to cause big problems for the deep state when it comes to the election this November. So... I think, honestly, the best thing ever is Democrats calling for these protests to be ended, resulting in police are physically arresting anti-Israel protesters, generating Democrat sympathy for Palestine, just means Biden loses.
Yeah, I mean, that's why, what did the administration do? He made some overture to, what was the last thing that Biden did today?
Oh, he said that Israel committed human rights violations.
And Blinken is saying that Hamas should accept the very generous deal that's been offered to them.
Yeah,
I mean,
this is all-
the Biden administration is trying to wrap this up. That's what they're signaling, in my opinion. But they're not going to make anyone happy, right? This is a situation, it's a no-win situation. Compromise means somebody loses.
Like
and
I said-
I just think that the Biden administration has really isolated themselves from a lot of their voting base. It's not good.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.